She saw the boy's shadow first, small, twitchy, running in loops around the stones like he was keeping something in or calling something out. His feet kicked dust with every lap. No shoes, no sound, just circles. Tight ones, fast. She stepped off the path. "What are you doing, kid?" He didn't stop, just looked up once and kept running. Can't stop till it hears. Hears what? He pointed down. The well's stones were crumbling, moss-eaten, sunken slightly into the dirt like the land had stopped holding it up. That's where she dropped it. Who? My mama. She moved closer, boots crunching dry weeds. The child was pale, not sickly, emptied. A little shirt, no buttons, hands smudged with clay. He pointed again. She said, "You watch it. Don't let the circle break." And if it does? He stopped, just stood there, panting. Then the secret doesn't stay down. She crouched, resting a hand on the stones. Cold, even with the sun on it. What did she drop? A secret. That's not a thing you can drop. She said it was heavy. She looked into the well. It was deep. Couldn't see the bottom, no water glint, just a black mouth, the kind that doesn't echo back when you call. The boy edged closer, voice low. She said it won't let her speak till someone else listens. "Where's your mama now?" He didn't answer, just stared at her with eyes that didn't blink. "You got a name?" He shook his head. She tried again. "Where'd you come from?" He lifted his arm and pointed behind her. Nothing there but open stretch and a barbed fence long rusted through. The boy blinked slowly. "Will you listen?" To what? To what she dropped. She stayed quiet. The rope was still tied, frayed, knotted, bleached, hung like a tendon from a broken jaw. "You looking for her?" he asked. "No." "You look like someone who lost someone." She pressed her mouth shut. Didn't answer. He watched her. Waited. "Have you ever been down there?" she asked. "I ain't stupid." "Neither am I," she said. He leaned over, eyes wide. "Then why do you looking like you're about to?" She took off her gloves, reached for the rope. The wood crossbeam held, but barely. It groaned when she gave it a pull. The pulley creaked. "You listening now?" the boy asked. "I'm looking." "That counts." Number grown-ups look to forget. Kids look to remember. She looped the rope around her arm, leaned over the edge. "Don't fall," he whispered. "Don't plan to." She squinted into the dark. Nothing but stillness. No bugs. No wind. The rope dangled into black, but not into water. Something down there was dry. "Something's waiting," he said. "What makes you so sure?" She screamed before she dropped it. She froze. "What kind of scream?" "Not scared. Mad." He circled the well. Again. Slower this time, watching her the whole time. She said, "They took it from me, so I give it back." "Who's they?" "Bad men, with stars on their shirts." She straightened. Her boots scraped the stone. "Does she say any names?" He nodded. "Said the sheriff lied. Said the judge smiled when he shouldn't have." Her face tightened. "Your mama says what she dropped." He paused. "Said it was proof. Said it had teeth." "Does she mean that literally?" He shrugged. "I'm 5. You sure?" He stared at her. "You think I'd run circles around a lie?" She didn't respond. The wind picked up, just a little. It pushed her braid over her shoulder. The rope swayed. "You got a flashlight?" "No." "Then how are you going to see?" "I ain't looking for the thing. I'm looking for the truth." He stopped circling. That's what she said, too. Her hand went back to the rope. She gave it a pull. It was held. Barely. "I'm not going down." "Good. But I'm sending something." The boy crouched. "What?" She pulled off her satchel, dug out a mirror, small, square, cracked down the center. "You carry mirrors?" he asked. "Carry lots of things." "Why?" "In case someone tells me I imagined it." She tied the mirror to the rope, knotted tight. "If it comes back cracked differently," she said, "I'll know." She let the mirror drop, slow. It spun a little on the way down. She watched till it disappeared. The boy didn't move, just watched her, mouth tight. After a while, the rope jerked, just once. She pulled, hand over hand. The mirror rose, catching the light. Something stuck to the glass, mud maybe, but it was dark, not red, not brown. "What's that?" the boy asked. She didn't answer. He moved closer. Mama said it'd show its face if someone listened. The mirror was wet, fogged, and scratched, one clean line across the crack, different than before. She held it up. "See?" "I see it scratched," he said. I see it. She set the mirror down. The boy leaned toward it. I ain't scared, he whispered. You shouldn't be, she said. Scared how they keep us quiet. The wind stopped. The rope swung once. She looked down the well again. Still just black. But it's different now. Not empty. Not silent. He whispered, Will you come back tomorrow? She nodded. You'll listen again? I will. He smiled for the first time. It was crooked. Unpracticed. She turned to leave, then paused. What's your mama's name? He looked up. You already know it, he said. You just ain't said it out loud in a long time. Then he went back to circling the well, slower, steady. She didn't ask again. Didn't look back. Not yet. The bucket caught on something hard. She felt it through the rope, dull, sudden, like hitting bone. Under dirt, it dragged slowly, heavy, as if whatever lay down there had been waiting to be found, and now refused to come easy. The boy flinched beside her. That doesn't sound good, he said. She kept pulling. It's just stone. It doesn't sound like stone. The pulley squealed. The rope burned her hands. She didn't stop. No sheriff. The boy whispered. What? No sheriff. Badges lie. She nodded once. I know. The bucket crested the lip. Metal scraped rock. Something sat inside, wrapped tight in dark cloth soaked through. A corner of tin showed through the folds. The whole thing smelled wrong, like river rot and old ash. She set it down on the stones, slow. You want to open it? The boy asked. You scared? He didn't answer. She untied the rope. The bucket rocked slightly as if still remembering the water. If we open it, he said again, do we go home? No, she said. First, we see what truth looks like wet. The cloth clung tight. She pried it with her fingertips. The tin slipped free, small, square, dented, like it had been stepped on once then kept anyway. Something inside shifted. She opened the lid. A folded scrap of paper, a rusted hairpin, a baby tooth. She paused. The boy leaned close, squinting. That hers? She left a note. The paper was soft with age. She peeled it open carefully. The ink had run, but the lines were still there, tight, sharp strokes in a hand that shook only at the end. It read, They said no one would believe me, so I gave them something to bury, but I marked it first. I marked it with what they couldn't take. Beneath the writing, a smudge, a fingerprint in dried blood, pressed deliberately. The boy whispered, She said she'd leave her mark. She did. The tooth rolled in the tin, white against rust, too clean. You think it's hers? She didn't answer, just stared at it. It didn't matter whose it was. What mattered was what came with it. The boy poked the tin. Have you ever pulled a tooth for truth? No. He looked up. Have you ever buried one? She closed the tin. Only once, and not for me. The cloth bundle had a second layer. She unwrapped it, slower now. A child's shirt, torn at the collar, tiny handprints stitched into the hem. Someone had sewn initials on the inside. Faded thread, barely there. J.D., the boy said aloud. Does it mean anything to you? He shook his head. Not mine. Then maybe hers. The air around the well felt thick. The wind had stopped again. Not still, held. We got to take this somewhere, she said. Where? She stood, slid the paper in the shirt into her satchel. To someone who knew her. No one says her name anymore. That's why we're bringing it. The boy stared into the well. It's gonna want something back. Too bad. It's done keepin' things. He looked at her. You sayin' the secret's out now. She tightened the satchel strap. I'm sayin' it's movin'. They started walking. Dry grass brushed their boots. The trail curved past rusted wire and fence posts that held nothing. Far off, the old church steeple leaned sideways like it gave up mid-prayer. Where are we taking it? He asked again. There's a woman who runs the bake house by the bridge. She's got scars she doesn't talk about, and a birthmark shaped like a spoon on her shoulder. That's her? No, she said, but she knew her, and she remembers what nobody else says out loud. They walked quietly for a while. The boy kicked at the dirt. You think she's alive? No. You sure? No. He walked slower. You believe in ghosts? She looked down at him. I believe in what doesn't rest. Same thing. The road curved. The sky dimmed even though it wasn't sundown. Shadows stretched long, pulling ahead, like something waiting for them around the corner. The boy pointed. "That's the sheriff's house." She stopped. A truck idled in the gravel. A badge glinted through the windshield. He said, "You said no sheriff." "We ain't here for him." She crossed the road quickly. The boy followed. What if he sees? He already has. The truck door creaked open. Boots hit the ground. "You taking something from the well?" the sheriff asked. She didn't answer. "You know that land doesn't belong to you." She stepped closer. Did it belong to her? His jaw twitched. The boy stood behind her, half hidden. "I'd put that back," the sheriff said. She reached into the satchel, pulled the tin halfway out. "You mean this?" "I mean all of it." "You want to be the one to open it?" He didn't move. "You want your prints on what's inside." His voice dropped. "That ain't evidence. That's garbage from a ghost." "Then let it haunt you." "You think this'll change anything?" "I think it already has." The sheriff stepped forward. "You got any idea how many people that'll hurt?" She stared straight at him. "Maybe that's the point." Behind them, the boy whispered, "Don't let him touch it." She didn't. She slid the tin back into her bag and walked on. The boy at her side. The sheriff didn't follow. They crossed the old footbridge. The boards creaked but held. On the other side, smoke curled from the bakehouse chimney. "She'll open the door," she said. "She always does." The boy nodded. "You think she'll cry?" "Maybe." "What if she screams? Then it's real." The door opened before they knocked. A woman stood there, eyes wide, hands still dusted with flour. She saw the satchel, and she whispered a name neither of them expected. The boy froze. His hand gripped her coat. "Was that?" He asked. "Yes," she said. That was her name. The woman stepped back, left the door open. They stepped inside. The deputy didn't knock, just eased the screen door open and stood in the gap like he wasn't sure he was allowed inside. He held something wrapped in a handkerchief, damp and folded flat. "You alone?" he asked. She nodded. The boy was curled in the far corner, tracing his finger in the dust along the floorboards. Silent, the deputy stepped in slowly, like the wood might give under his boots. "I pulled this from evidence," he whispered. "Didn't log it. No one saw." She took the handkerchief. "Unwrap it." Inside, a water-warped scrap, half letter, half map. Ink bled down the creases. The lines jagged and deliberate, like whoever drew them knew they didn't have long. "You read it?" she asked. "Only once." "You believe it?" "I don't get paid to believe. I get paid to bury." She unfolded the paper. The top was torn. The writing is small, tight. Oh, they said they'd burn it all. Said learning makes girls too bold. Said the teacher knew what was buried behind the old fence and she wouldn't shut her mouth. The map below showed a road, a creek, and a red X beside the word school, underlined twice. The deputy glanced over his shoulder. "Meet me where the school burned," he said, voice thin. "Tonight, after the last meal bell." "Why?" "Because truth floats, but it drags people down first." She folded the scrap and tucked it beside the tin in her satchel. The boy stood now. "What's that?" "A letter." "From who?" She didn't answer. He came closer. "Does a secret float?" She looked at him. "Sometimes." He narrowed his eyes. "And sometimes it makes people sink." She nodded. "That's right." The deputy backed toward the door. "Don't tell anyone you saw me." "I won't." He hesitated. "There's names on that map." "I know. If you say 'em out loud, you better be ready." She stared at him. "You ready?" He didn't answer. Just slipped out the way he came. Quiet. She opened the satchel again, pulled out the scrap, studied the lines. The boy stood on tiptoe, peering. "Does that red X mean something bad?" "It usually does." He tugged her sleeve. "I don't want to go to the burn school." "You don't have to." "But I want to know what it says." She looked at him. "You sure?" He nodded. She pulled the page open fully. The bottom corner showed a name, half faded. "Property of M. Jessamine," the boy whispered. "Jessamine. You know her." "Number but the name sounds like fire." She folded the paper again. By sundown, they were walking the road east, past the fields no one tended anymore, past the graveyard where some stones leaned and others didn't get names. The boy kept pace beside her, quiet. "You think she wrote that right before it's burned?" he asked. I think she wrote it knowing no one would read it until now. You think the deputy's scared. He's not brave. Then why help? Some people help because they're guilty. They reached the old school lot by twilight. Nothing left but a chimney and broken boards, earth packed tight where the foundation used to be. The wind was low and slow, like it knew where it was. The deputy waited behind the chimney. "You weren't followed?" he asked. She shook her head. He knelt, brushing dirt from a small flat stone. "They said the fire was started by lightning," he said. "But there was no storm." "Do they lie often?" "Only when it matters." He slid his hand under the stone and pulled out a bundle, wrapped in cloth, smaller than hers but heavier somehow. "I ain't supposed to have this," he said. "You ain't supposed to have a lot of things." He placed it in her hands. "What's in it?" He didn't answer. She unwrapped it slowly. Inside, another note, sealed in wax, a rusted key, a girl's bracelet, cheap plastic beads strung tight, one snapped and tied back. The boy pointed. "That's mine." They looked at him. He stepped forward, touching the beads. "She gave me that." "Who?" she asked. "The lady at the river house. She said, 'Keep it on till the right person finds it again.'" She looked at the deputy. "You know who lived there?" He looked down. "Not anymore." She opened the wax seal. The paper inside was dry. A miracle. "If you find this, you found me. They buried me under the learning. They said girls shouldn't teach boys about wounds. They said blood tells lies when it comes from a woman's mouth. But I carved the truth in their own maps. Go where the fence breaks. Dig where the bell doesn't ring no more." The deputy looked sick. "You know the place?" she asked. He nodded. "Past the orchard, where the stone crosses turn." "Have you been there?" "I helped pour the lime." The boy's face twisted. "You did?" "I didn't know what was in the bags." "It doesn't matter," she said. "You helped anyway." He wiped his mouth. "I was 20. The sheriff said it was old livestock." "You believe him?" "Didn't want to ask." She folded the note. "We go at dawn." "I ain't going," the deputy said. "I've done enough." She tucked the key into her satchel. "Then this is where we leave you." The boy spat in the dirt. They walked away from the chimney, the boy's bracelet still in her hand. "You remember her now?" she asked. "Bits." "What bits?" She smelled like oranges. They kept walking. The burned school behind them didn't creak, didn't moan. But the ground did. The well hadn't moved, back where she left it, stones sagging under their own age, the lip dark with sweat. The rope swayed even without wind, like something below still shifted in sleep. She crouched, set her satchel down slowly. The boy didn't speak at first, just walked in a quiet circle, not running this time. Feet dragging, arms slack. When he stopped, he pressed his palm flat against the mossy stone. She sang that note. He whispered, "What note?" He didn't look up. Before she left, not words, just sound, like a hum stuck in her throat. The rope creaked. She moved closer, laid a hand over his. "You remember the tune?" He shook his head. "Number but my bones do." She glanced down the shaft, still black, still no echo. The bucket sat half lowered, forgotten, swaying slightly. "Have you ever hummed it back?" she asked. Too scared. She untied the knot she'd left last time and fed the rope through her fingers. Damp, greasy, as if touched from below. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Knotting it again. This time it stays." "For who?" "For whatever still listens." She tied it tight around a nearby post, notched the knot into the wood. The wind didn't rise, but the hum did. Thin, steady, low, like a bell underwater. It slid through the air, barely there. You felt it in your teeth more than heard it. The boy pressed both hands to the well now. She said the hum meant it was awake. "It?" she asked. "The truth." She sat on the rim, elbows on knees. The hum grew sharper the longer they stayed, not louder, just closer, like someone humming through glass behind you, and the glass kept thinning. "What's it saying?" he asked. "Nothing yet." "You think it's mad?" I think it's patient." He pointed at the satchel. "You bring it." She nodded. "The tooth, too?" "Yes." He sat beside her. "You think she meant for someone to find it all?" "No," she said. "But I think she knew someone would." He nodded slowly. "She always said secrets make their own way up." The hum wavered. For a moment, it dipped low, like a voice cracked mid-note. She looked at the rope. The boy followed her gaze. "It's pullin'." She didn't answer, just rose, gripped the rope, waited, a tug. Small, but real. She jerked back. Something's on it. Pull it. Not yet. The boy leaned in. You think she's down there? No. Then who's pulling? She crouched again. Maybe someone who buried what she couldn't. The hum snapped off. Just stopped. She pulled. Hand over hand. Rope stiff. Bucket heavy. When it crested the rim, it wasn't empty. A bundle. Not hers. This one was wrapped in a torn dish towel, soaked through but tied tight. She placed it on the stones. The boy squatted next to it. You think it's safe? No. She loosened the knot. The towel fell open. Inside, a cracked ceramic bird whistle, a matchbox with one match, and a crumpled note with no envelope. She opened the note. Same. Handwriting as before. The ink smeared, but legible. You found what I left, but you're not done. The boy saw. He didn't know it, but he saw. Ask him about the water behind the orchard. The real one, not the one they filled in, where the barn used to stand. The boy stared, unblinking. I ain't never been to an orchard, he said. She handed him the bird whistle. Blow it. Why? Just do it. He did. A thin, wheezing chirp came out, broken, off-key. No, he said. That's wrong. What is? That's not what she sounded like. She held up the matchbox. Have you seen this before? He nodded. She used to keep 'em under the sink. Said only use one when it mattered. How many in the box? He opened it. One. Then this is the one. He handed it back. She tucked the match and whistled in her coat. Water behind the orchard, she said. The boy frowned. Ain't no barn there. Not anymore. She stood, looking out across the hills. Somewhere off to the left, past the creek and the hollow, was the orchard, the one with no name anymore, just trees and whispers. The boy stared at the well. She dropped more than one thing. I know. You think it's done? No, she said. The well's just a mouth. We ain't heard the whole story. The rope twitched. The boy yelped. She dropped to her knees and peered in. Nothing moved now. Was that her? He whispered. That was someone else. You think she's watching? She paused. I think she's waiting. He pointed to the sky. It's darker now. She stood. It's gonna get darker still. The boy asked, You scared? Not yet. He slipped his hand into hers. Tell me when you are, she squeezed once. I will. Behind them, the rope went slack. The hum didn't come back, but the stones still felt warm. She stood at the edge again, rope coiled in one hand, the other holding a square mirror no bigger than her palm. The frame was chipped, one corner cracked through the glass like a strike that didn't finish. She rubbed it clean on her coat sleeve. You sure that'll help? The boy asked. No, she said, but it reflects better than a match. She crouched, tied the mirror flat to the bucket with wire from the fence behind the bakehouse. Tight, flat, still. Why a mirror? He asked. 'Cause if light won't go down there, maybe it'll bounce back up. The well didn't hum tonight. It was quiet now. Too quiet, like the hush that follows a scream that never got answered. The boy stepped closer. You think it's going to show her face? I think it's going to show us what we weren't supposed to see. He swallowed. She let the rope slide through her fingers slowly. The bucket dipped past the rim. The mirror caught moonlight on the way down, flickering like something alive, like it didn't want to go. Tell me when it stops shining, she said. The boy nodded, watched. The flicker faded inch by inch. Then it caught. Stop, he said. She froze. It flashed, way down, like something metal. She looked at him. What kind of metal? Dull, not gold, not silver. She knelt, let the rope go slack, then tugged twice, steady. The mirror swung gently in the dark. She felt it, not pull, not catch, just presence, like something down there had paused. Something metal, she murmured, something kept. The boy crouched beside her. Mama said secrets don't rot. She stared into the mouth. Some do. He didn't blink. And some, she said, keep rotting us. She began pulling the bucket back up, slow and even. What if it's gone, he asked. Then it never wanted to be seen. The pulley groaned. The rope felt heavier than it should. You think it's got more than a reflection. We'll know in a minute. The mirror came first, wet, streaked, but not broken. But behind it, jammed in the corner of the bucket, was a strip of rusted chain. Small links, child-sized, welded shut at one end, snapped open at the other. The mirror had caught it on the way down. Or maybe it had caught the mirror. The boy leaned in. She wore that. You sure? She said when I was bad, they used to make her wear it in the barn. Said she'd count links instead of crying. She pulled it free. The snap had teeth marks. She broke it. The boy nodded. She said they let her out one night, but only after they burned the others. The others? He nodded again. The quiet girls. The mirror slid from the bucket, landing with a soft clink on the stones. She stared at the chain. That barn is still standing. No, he said. Just the stones. And a smell. She wrapped the chain in her kerchief and tucked it away. You think this is what the map meant? She shook her head. This is what she meant. The boy looked at the rope again. You gonna drop it again? She didn't answer. Instead, she turned the mirror in the moonlight. There, etched faintly in the glass, probably never meant to be seen, were letters scratched by a hand that didn't press hard enough. A name, Jessamine, the same name on the burned school's letterhead, the same girl who'd drawn the map. She's the one who wrote it? He asked. She's the one who watched. The boy whispered, Watched what? She didn't speak. The mirror caught light again, only this time not from above, from below. The boy screamed, just once, short, sharp. The mirror shimmered faintly, then dulled again. What was that? He asked. She touched the glass, warm. That's not possible, she muttered. The rope twitched. The boy backed away. It wants it back. She held the mirror tighter. No, she said. It wants us to follow. Where? She pointed toward the trees. The orchard. The one past the stone cross fence? Yes. I've been there once, he whispered. Didn't go in. You're going now. He didn't move. Afraid? He nodded. She slipped the mirror in her coat. Me too. The well behind them stayed quiet. No rope movement, no sound, as if satisfied, as if the chain had been paid. They walked across the field with the moon above them and the wind soft at their backs. The orchard loomed ahead, bent trees, twisted rows, fruit that never got picked. You smell that? She asked. Smoke. No, she said. Lie. The boy gagged. Same smell from the barn that's not there. They reached the fence. It was crooked. One post split, wire sagging. She stepped over. The boy followed. In the center, where no trees grew, stones jutted from the earth in a tight circle. Blackened, ash-covered, burned long ago. Is this it? She asked. He nodded. This is where she counted links. She knelt, ran her hand along the dirt. It was warm again. Too warm. The chain in her coat shifted. We dig, she said. With what? She pulled the mirror back out. Glassworks, she said, if you use it slowly. He didn't speak. Together they dug. Just enough. Enough to see wood slats under the dirt. A trapdoor, no lock, just a smear of red across the handle. Dried, old, but still sticky somehow. The boy backed up. Don't open it yet. Why? Because whatever's under there remembers being chained. She held the mirror over it. No reflection, just shadow. She whispered, tomorrow. And they covered it back up. For now. The rope moved smoother than it had any right to. No jerks, no snags. Just rhythm, tight pull, loose pull, hand over hand. She didn't speak, didn't blink. The boy sat beside her, knees up to his chest, watching the mirror flicker as it rose. The mirror clacked once against the stones. Then came another sound, a heavier knock, dull, rusted, like metal bumping rock. She steadied the rope, reached in, pulled the bucket onto the rim. First, the mirror, wet, scratched, smeared with something dark. Then beside it, a rusted clasp, no bigger than a coin, broken clean down the middle. A red ribbon tied through the hinge, still knotted, still red, somehow not ruined. And beneath it all, a torn page, folded once, half-sealed in wax that had melted and reset, like it had gone down hot and come up cold. She unfolded the paper, a corner missing, ink smudged but legible. She wore the ribbons so they'd know which one bled first. The clasp was never hers. They gave it to her after, said she should feel grateful for being remembered. The boy didn't move, just stared. That's her handwriting, he whispered. It shakes. She wrote it wet, she said. He pointed at the clasp. They made her wear that after? Yes, like a prize, like a collar. He looked away. Do we tell them? Crunch, footsteps, slow, measured. She stood before she saw them. I knew the rhythm, knew the sound of boots that never rushed. 3 men, straight-backed, clean shirts. One held his hat against his chest like it meant something. The other 2 had sleeves rolled to the elbow, veins thick, smiles thin. "You folks pullin' from a well that ain't yours?" the man in front asked. She didn't answer. The boy stayed still. Another step. Crunch, crunch. "Do you find anything dangerous down there?" the second man asked. "No," she said. The third man chuckled. "That's not what it looks like from here." The one with the hat pointed at the ribbon. "That red's familiar." She slipped it into her pocket. "Not anymore." "You digging up ghosts?" he asked. "No," she said. "Just the truth." He nodded like it bored him. "Same thing." The first man stepped closer. "Hand over what the water coughed up." "No," she answered. He smiled wider. "Didn't sound like a choice." The boy stood up now. She said no. The man blinked, tilted his head. "He got a name." "No," she said. "Boys without a name don't get to speak." She moved in front of him. "He does now." The second man pointed at the clasp. "You don't know what that meant. Not to the town." "I know exactly what it meant." "No, you don't," the first man said. "You see a chain. We see a memorial." She opened the satchel. "Hold the page halfway out." "You want it?" He paused. "You want to be the one to tear it?" she asked. He didn't move. Behind them, the rope creaked again. Wind picked up, fast. Suddenly, the boy stepped toward the well, eyes on the water. "She's not quiet anymore." "What's that mean?" the second man asked. "It means we ain't alone." The man in front squinted. "You bringin' spirits into this?" "No," she said. "You already did, when you buried the girls and called it closure." He grinned. "Closure's for people who stay, not drifters." "I ain't driftin'. I'm diggin'." He took a breath. "I'll give you one chance. Put the ribbon down. Put the note back. Walk away." "No," she said again. The boy looked up. "You're gonna try to take it?" The third man reached for his belt. "She'll hand it over." The boy moved fast, grabbed the mirror, raised it like a blade. "You try," he said, "and she'll show you your own face." The first man laughed. "You think a mirror scares me?" "No," the boy said, "but what it sees might." They stared at each other. No one moved. Then came the hum. Low, long, shuddering through the stones. The men froze. The well vibrated faint under their feet. The rope danced slightly. "What is that?" the second man asked. "She's listening," the boy said. The third man dropped his hand from his belt. "You hear that?" she asked. None of them answered. "She doesn't want silence anymore," she said. "She wants names." The first man scowled. "You think this scares us?" "No," she said, "but maybe it should." The rope jerked. Hard. All of them jumped back. The bucket tipped and something slid out. Another piece of cloth. Soaked. Heavy. She picked it up. It was a child's shoe. Small. Burned on one side. Laces missing. Inside, a name etched in marker. Ruthie. The boy's mouth fell open. "That's—" "I know," she said. "We keep it." The men backed away. Slow. "You walk away with that," the first man said, voice tight. "You start something that won't stop." She held up the shoe. It already started. They turned and left. Didn't speak. Didn't run. Just walked like men who thought they still owned something but weren't sure anymore. When they were gone, the boy sat back down. "They're scared." "Not enough," she said. "But maybe that's next." He touched the ribbon in her coat pocket. "She used to braid that in my hair." "You remember now?" "Yeah." "Does she ever cry?" "No," he said. She hummed. The well was quiet now, but the rope still swayed. She didn't wait for the sheriff, didn't wait for the sun, just walked straight to the old church. Boots sharp on stone, satchel heavier than yesterday. The boy trailed behind, one hand gripping the ribbon now tied to his belt loop. Inside, the sanctuary echoed hollow. No choir, no sermon, just the scrape of her footsteps and the sharp creak of the big doors closing behind them. "No," she muttered again. It had become her answer for everything. The boy stepped into the aisle. "What if they're watchin'? Then they'll see me lookin'." The air inside smelled like lemon oil and dust. Hymnal pages fluttered without wind. The floor sloped slightly as if bowed under memory. They moved past the altar and toward the basement steps, narrow, splintered, shadowed by candles long melted. "She came here," the boy said. "She hides here." "No," he said. "She carved." The door creaked open. Inside, the basement was lined with worn pews, uneven rows. 8 old women stood in clusters, some with clothes, some with open palms, none surprised to see her. One nodded. "Took you long enough." She didn't answer. "You bring it?" the woman asked. She opened the satchel, pulled out the clasp, the ribbon, the torn page, the shoe. The women stepped closer. "You know what these are," she said. "We never forgot," one answered, "but nobody asked." "You kept it down here?" The first woman nodded. "Names last longer underground." Another gestured toward the pews. "Come see." Together they lifted the first row. Wood, groaning like it hadn't moved in decades. Beneath the bench carved into the stone floor were initials. Dozens. Some are flanked by dates, some by symbols. But one caught her eye. A curved ribbon etched deep beside the letters RRL. The boy touched it. "Mama," he whispered. "She was here." A third woman leaned close. "She asked us not to forget." "She asked you to speak?" the woman asked. "No," said the eldest. "She asked us to wait." The boy moved to the next pew, lifted it himself. Beneath it, more marks. A spoon, a bell, a single eye carved in slanted strokes. "Who taught you to carve?" she asked. One woman chuckled. "You think men let us learn that?" "We carved so we wouldn't vanish," another said. "If they erased our faces, they'd still trip over our names." The ribbon trembled in her coat. She knelt beside the third pew, brushed her hand over the stone. Beneath her palm, a name she hadn't seen since childhood. Jessamine Ruth Lee. She froze. The boy squinted. "That's long." "She was supposed to be forgotten," one woman whispered. "She was the loud one," another added. "Spoke when they said smile." "She didn't stop," the eldest said. The boy sat beside the name. "That's her. She wrote the letter." "She died screaming," one woman said, "but she lived louder." The ribbon slipped from the boy's belt and lay across the stone like it belonged there. "She marked herself," the woman said, "so others would know where not to die quietly." "She wore red," the boy whispered, "even when it got her hurt." The youngest woman lifted another pew. "Not just her. Look, a second name. C.T. Apricot Hill. She's the one from the orchard," she murmured. One of the women nodded. "They tried to name the trees after men, but she planted them." Another pointed to the symbol beside it, a cradle carved crooked. "She left babies that nobody claimed." The boy touched it. "She watched me once." The silence deepened. Then, one by one, the women lifted every pew, showed every name, over 20. All girls, all symbols. A sewing needle, a bucket, a badge turned upside down. She looked at them. "Why keep it hidden?" The eldest voice cracked. "Because the town loves a sermon more than a story." "They called us bitter, liars, old." She ran her hand over the ribbon again. "Are you ready to speak now?" The eldest looked around. "We already are." The boy stood. "Can I carve one?" She looked at him. "What name?" she asked. He pointed to himself. "Just mine." He didn't say what it was, just knelt and began scratching the stone with the clasp's broken edge. Slow, honest. She watched him finish the first letter, a jagged T. "I remember now," he said. The women bowed their heads. The candlelight swayed on the walls. She reached into her satchel. Again, pulled out the mirror, held it over the names. It reflected nothing. Just stone. Just scratches. "You think they see us?" the boy asked. "I think they already did." The oldest woman walked to the wall, pressed her palm to the wood panel. It clicked. A drawer opened. Inside, folded cloth, brittle papers, a small journal. The woman handed it over. "She left it behind," she said. "Said it was for the one who didn't flinch." She took the journal, opened to the first page. "If they found you, you're already braver than I was. But I tried, and I kept the truth dry." She closed it. "Where's the rest?" she asked. The woman pointed to the bell tower above. "One name's still up there, carved where the pastor wouldn't see." The boy touched his ribbon. "You ready?" she asked him. He nodded. They turned together, climbed the stairs, ready to see the name they'd spent years hearing. but never speaking. She didn't ask permission, didn't knock, just walked up the steps of the old house like the air belonged to her too. The porch boards groaned under her weight. The men were already waiting, 2 of them on either side, sitting like they weren't guarding anything, just resting with hands too still. The boy stood behind her, clutching the satchel. The door opened before she could touch it. The matriarch. She was thinner than the stories made her, bones proud, hair pulled tight enough to look like armor. Her dress was pressed, sleeves buttoned to the wrist. A brooch glinted under her throat, gold, shaped like a spoon. "Come to drink?" the old woman asked. "No." "Then why stand on my boards?" She held up the ribbon, let it sway once in the wind. The matriarch blinked, just once. "You found it," she said. "You buried it." The old woman turned without a word and walked inside, left the door open like an invitation or warning. She followed. The boy stayed at the threshold, watching. Inside, everything smelled like lavender and vinegar, clean, but not warm. The tea set was already out, poured, 2 cups, only one steaming. "Sit," the matriarch said. She didn't. "You came for a story." Number A statement. The matriarch smiled without teeth. "You speak like a courthouse." Only because graves don't answer questions. The men stayed outside, shadows through the windows. The old woman tapped her cup. Wells keep towns alive. And drown them. The matriarch sipped nothing. "You think that's clever?" "I think it's true." "You want money?" she asked. "No." "Land?" "No." The old woman raised an eyebrow. "Then what?" "A voice," she said. "Yours. On record. In daylight." The matriarch tilted her head. "You came for a confession?" "No," she said. "A memory. Public? Clear." The matriarch ran a finger along the porcelain rim. "Do you think people still care? About girls who screamed before you were born? I think they'd care if they heard it out loud." The tea steamed between them. The old woman looked toward the porch. "My boys won't allow that." "They already did," she said, "when they let me on the porch." "You think that means anything?" "It means you're tired." The matriarch laughed, soft, cracked. She reached into her pocket, pulled out a folded paper, set it on the table. "You recognize it?" She nodded. Carved name, Jessamine Ruth Lee. She was 16, the matriarch said. Said she could read the law better than the judge. She could. She wore that ribbon like it was armor. She bled in it. The old woman closed her eyes. She used to sing, sweet, like sugar. Then why let her drown? The silence stretched long. "You think I had power," the matriarch whispered. "You had a well," she replied. The boy stepped inside now. Quiet. The matriarch looked at him. "You knew her?" he asked. "I gave her jam on Sundays. She gave me a ribbon." The old woman's face fell. She had no right to pass that down. She had every right. The matriarch looked away. "She called me a coward, said silence was a sickness." She was right. The boy pulled the mirror from the satchel, set it on the table. The matriarch stared at her own reflection, wrinkled, sharp, unmoving. "Are you ready to say it?" the woman asked. "To who?" "To everyone." The matriarch's hands trembled. "She's not coming back," the boy said. "I know." "But the well's still talking." "I know." She reached for the mirror, held it up to her face, whispered, "We thought silence was safer." "It never is," the woman said. The matriarch set the mirror down. "She tried to warn me, said the town would rot from the roots if I didn't name what fed it. She saw right. She always did." The tea was cold now, untouched. Outside, the wind picked up. The matriarch turned back to her. "You want me on the record?" "Yes." "You want my face?" "No," she said. "Just your words." The old woman stood. I walked to the desk in the corner, opened the drawer, pulled out a small recorder, pressed the red button. She spoke. "My name is Constance Aldridge. I am the last of the founding family, and I am the last to hold this lie by its throat. Jessamine Ruth Lee didn't drown. She was pushed. Her ribbon was taken, her voice silenced, and I said nothing. Not once. She stopped the recording. Set it down. The boy stepped forward. I picked it up. "Can I play it for the church?" "Yes," she said. He nodded, clutched it to his chest. The matriarch looked at the woman. Satisfied? No. But it's a start. It's a start. They left without another word, down the porch steps, past the men who didn't move, into the wind that didn't stop. The ribbon fluttered at her hip. The boy looked up. She gave her voice back. For now, she said. He touched the recorder. We give it wings. They marched in silence. Her, the boy, the deputy 2 steps behind, the matriarch in black, arms stiff at her sides, and the men, 3 of them, walking like they always had, like they owned the dirt under every step. The wind followed them halfway, then stopped. The trees held still. The air thickened. The sky leaned heavy. The well waited. Its lip glistened as if it had been sweating through the night. The rope was coiled, but not loose. Tight, ready, like someone below had already wound it back up for the next witness. They stood in a half-circle around it. The boy stayed beside her, satchel clutched tight. The mirror inside reflected nothing now, just sky and the dark shape of the well's mouth. The matriarch stepped forward. The deputy didn't move. She pointed at the stones. Say it to the water, she said. The men shifted. Excuse me, said the one with the sharp jaw. You heard me. The eldest man laughed. You think this is a courtroom? No, she said, but this is older than any law you ever twisted. You want justice in a hole? I want the water to remember. The deputy cleared his throat. I've seen the letters, the map, the ribbon. Are you still afraid? She asked. I'm tired, he said. That's close enough. The sharp-jawed man sneered. Names aren't evidence. She turned toward him, stepped close. Names are bones. His smile faltered. Names fill holes. Names keep you up at night. Names echo louder than prayers, she said. The matriarch took another step forward. Her voice didn't rise, didn't shake, just dropped. One word, low, final. Jessamine. The sound hit the well like a coin into a jar. Sharp, clean, irrevocable. The boy's hand tightened around hers. The rope creaked. The sharp-jawed man stepped back. You got nothing. No records. No reports. No lies either, she said. The matriarch spoke again. She came to me, said girls were vanishing, said the church wouldn't help, said the sheriff wouldn't touch it. She was right, the deputy said. The matriarch nodded. I told her to be quiet. The boy whispered, she wasn't. No, the matriarch said. She carved it instead. Another man, broader, slower, frowned. So what now? You want us to say her name too? I want you to say the one you put in the ground, she said. He looked at the rope. I didn't touch her. But you named the hole, she said. You stood over it. You saw what was in it. And you said nothing here. That counts. He said nothing. The wind didn't move. The third man spoke. Ruthie. The boy froze. He whispered, that was my cousin. She wore the shoe, the deputy said. The one that came up. The rope moved again. The sharp-jawed man cursed under his breath. You think this proves anything? It proves you remember, she said. The matriarch turned toward him. Say the name. He stepped back. I didn't bury her. You buried the file, she said. I was told to. Say it. No. The boy stepped forward. You scared? The man didn't answer. She opened the satchel, pulled out the chain, the clasp, the page with half a name, held them up, one by one. You touched all this, she said. Not with intent. You don't need intent to destroy, just indifference. The wind picked up. Software suddenly blew the ribbon from her pocket, let it dance once across the stones. The matriarch stepped on it, not to crush, to anchor. I'll say one more, she said. Clara, the deputy nodded. I remember that one. She had freckles, the matriarch said. She had a voice, the woman said. You all ignored it. The third man, the slower one, knelt. I didn't know they burned the school. You knew it stopped meeting, she said. I thought they moved it. They did, into a hole. He touched the rope. She told me not to lie. You did anyway. He nodded. I'm sorry. She crouched beside him. Say it louder. He looked down the well. Clara, Jessamine, Ruthie. The rope jerked. He jumped back. She didn't move. The boy reached into the satchel, pulled out the recorder, pressed play. The matriarch's voice filled the air. Jessamine Ruth Lee didn't drown. She was pushed. Her ribbon was taken. Her voice silenced. And I said nothing. The men didn't breathe. The well swallowed the sound, and then from the deep, a thud. Wet, low, final, like a door closing below the earth. The rope went slack. The mirror in the satchel cracked. The boy didn't flinch. "She's done listening," he said. The matriarch stepped back, sat on the stones. "Then we speak now." She looked at the men. "All of you." They looked at the well, then each other. The sharp-jawed man cursed again. And then he said it. Sarah. The name rang flat, but it counted. One by one the names came, some with tears, some with silence, but all spoken. She wrote them in the dirt. The boy read each one out loud. No one stopped him. No one dared. When they finished, the wind came back. Fast. Clean. The rope didn't move again. She stood. "Now we dig," she said. They didn't argue. They brought shovels. And this time, no one buried a thing. They didn't send them. But the town came anyway. Before the last name finished echoing down the well, they started to arrive. First the women, mothers with hands too still, daughters who never learned why bedtime felt heavier in certain houses. Then the men, some young, some already bent from years of pretending not to see. They came slowly, without words, without songs, just footsteps and faces and the quiet weight of knowing. The boy stood by the rope, ribbon tied around his wrist now. She stayed beside him, the mirror still cracked in her satchel. The matriarch didn't rise from the stones. People watched the well like it was a grave with a mouth. One woman stepped forward, held out a handkerchief, lace-fringed, clean. She didn't speak, just set it on the ground beside the clasp. Another handed over a child's locket, gold peeling off the sides. Inside, a photo too water-stained to see. An old man with a limp placed something heavy on the edge. A pocket knife with 3 initials scratched on the blade. None of them explained. They didn't need to. Each item passed hand to hand, like offerings, like apologies. Then came the badge, set down not by the sheriff, but by the deputy. Face pale, hand shaking. It gleamed once in the light, then looked dull, like it remembered what it had ignored. She watched them stack memory on stone. Then a voice from the crowd. "Close it." Software pleading. "Please, enough's enough." She shook her head. "No, it's done." "It's not," she said. "Not until it hears us." The crowd murmured. Some backed away. The boy touched her elbow. "They're scared." "So were the girls," she said. The sheriff stepped forward now. Not fast, not proud. He didn't wear his coat, didn't wear his name. He looked older than he had days ago. Voice low. "If we speak," he asked, "does it stay down?" "No," she said, "but it stops holding you." He looked at the badge on the stone, then at the boy. "I can't take it back." "You're not supposed to," the boy said. The sheriff reached down, picked up the badge. "Hold it once, tight," then walked to the well, held it out over the mouth. "I was the one they called when it was too late," he said, "because I never showed up when it mattered." No one moved. He looked down into the dark. "Ruthie," he whispered. "Clara, Jessamine." Then he let go. Metal fell. Not fast, just steady. It hit the water with a sound like a coin dropped into deep breath, and the rope jerked, hard. The sheriff stepped back. Everyone watched. The hum returned, not loud, not angry, just a present, just aware. The boy stepped forward next. He placed the mirror down, face up. "She always said the truth looked like glass," he whispered. "Clear when you don't want it, cracked when you need it most." He placed his hand over the glass, then backed away. A young woman walked up next, hair braided, eyes glassy. She laid a dried flower on the pile. "She braided my hair before school," she said, "the day they said she ran off, but she didn't take her shoes." The wind shifted. "It's cold now." Someone else stepped forward, middle-aged, eyes hollow. "She was my sister's best friend. We buried her diary, burned the pages with names. I watched it burn." The matriarch stood, finally. "I walked to the edge, knees stiff." She spoke without looking at anyone. "They built this town on water. They said they were well fed, but we fed it too. With silence. With girls." The crowd didn't argue, didn't leave. Another woman walked forward, hands empty. "I was 8. I saw her run. They told me she was chasing someone, but I saw her face. She wasn't chasing. She was chased." She knelt, touched the ribbon. The wind stopped again. She looked at them all now. Each one. Say it, she said. And one by one, they did. Names they hadn't said in years. Some that never got spoken at all. Some cried, some whispered, some just stood and stared into the mouth, letting silence say what they couldn't. The boy looked up at her. Is it full now? She didn't answer. He asked again. Is it done? No, she said, but it's listening. The matriarch lowered her head. I hear it, she said. The deputy wiped his face. Me too. The sheriff knelt by the edge. What now? We dig, she said again. He nodded. Where? She looked past the crowd, toward the orchard, toward the barn that wasn't there, toward the ground that never froze right. There, she said. The boy reached for her hand. She took it. Together, they turned their backs to the well. And the town followed. She stood alone at the well again. The town had drifted back to its houses, their footsteps swallowed by grass and gravel. The orchard still waited behind them. The barn would come next. But first, this. The bucket sat beside her, cleaned once with a cloth that hadn't been hers. Now it holds the last bundle. Inside, the red ribbon, damp but whole, folded around the letter scrap, the first one they'd pulled, the one written by a girl no one believed in time. She ran her fingers along the knot. The boy sat on the stones beside her, legs crossed, chin resting in his palm. His shirt was too thin for the morning chill. He didn't mention it. Are you sure about this? He asked. She nodded. We leave it here, so the next one can find it. He didn't answer. She picked up the bucket, tied the rope herself, and knuckled red from the cold. She didn't rush. She placed the bundle inside like a memory you don't want to smudge. When she dropped it, the rope barely hissed. The pulley didn't creak. It just took it. No protest. The wind stayed still. No one watched this time. No matriarch, no deputy, not even the sheriff. Just her, the boy, and the mouth that had swallowed more names than any ledger ever would. She let the rope go all the way down. Not to the bottom, just far enough. Then she tied it off. Not to hold it, but to let it be found. One day. Again. The hum came faintly at first. A slow, low note like someone breathing through their teeth. Then softer, thinner, like air pulled through a straw. Then nothing. Gone. Truly gone. The boy leaned against her leg. Can we go home now? She looked out over the orchard. We can start. They sat for a moment longer. No one moved. The mirror was still cracked. The badge is still gone. The shoe was buried where they found the crossbeam. The truth, most of it, had risen. She stood. He did too. She picked up a single stone from the grass, set it on the well's rim. Then another, and another. The boy followed her lead. Not to close it, not to hide it, just to mark it. A circle of stones. Uneven, quiet. Like a grave, he asked. No, she said. Like a witness. He laid one last rock beside hers. Think she sees it? She was it, she said. The ground held still beneath their feet. No hum. No pull. Just silence, but not the kind that stings. The kind that forgives. They turned. I walked away, past the bakehouse, past the church, past the homes where curtains twitched and no one spoke just yet. Not everything was ready, but some things were. The road back was longer than she remembered. The boy carried the satchel now, lighter than it had ever been. No tin, no chain, no pages left to unfold, only the journal, the one that said, if they found you, you're already braver than I was. He'd asked to hold that one. She let him. When they passed the school lot, he pointed. Can we build it again? Not yet, she said. Why not? Because we still gotta dig. Where? She pointed toward the orchard. He looked at her. Will it be loud? She didn't lie. Some things still scream. He didn't look scared, just tired. They reached the trailhead. He sat on the bench. She stood. You coming? She asked. He shook his head. Need a minute, he said. To feel the quiet. She nodded. He closed his eyes. She turned back toward the orchard, toward the stones, toward the place where she would finally dig with no one to stop her, and the boy sat, breathing easy. For the first time,